stay quiet.
Yeah, there you go. Please, no comment. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, no comments from the peanut gallery, right? So,
Hopefully not.
Yep.
Hopefully nothing that's going to be too crazy or embarrassing.
Right.
So.
All right. So they were just watching there. Some of you you were playing there on that video. Was Highway Star.
Correct.
So Deep Purple.
Highway Star,
Excellent.
Deep Purple.
So,
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Trying to do anything by the amazing Ian Pace is. I mean, he's such a phenomenal drummer. It's hard to even approach that with any modicum of confidence and hopefully hoping to do any justice to it.
Yeah.
You know? So
The speed of that song is just so. And Space Truckin'. That's another. I mean, Deep Purple's got a lot of great songs.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Shit.
Where's
the Deep Purple tribute band?
The
right.
other one that I really want to do with this band, and we haven't done it. We haven't talked about it really, but I've got it in the back of my mind. Is Burn. I mean, the whole song is basically a drum solo. It really is, and it's. I would be kind of screwing myself there doing that song, but it's a great song.
Who came up with this idea? Oh, shit, that was me.
Well, one of the other songs we do is Aces High by Iron Maiden, and that is just all out fast and hard, and you don't get any rest. We were playing that one time at in rehearsal, and our singer turned around and said, "What idiot wrote that song?" So yeah.
So, all right, excellent. So, all right, here we go. So, hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums where the Backbeats Meet the Spirits, episode number 29. We're back in person live podcast on location, the Live Music Community Studios with our guest, South Florida drummer Kevin Fruge. Did I say that right?
You said it correctly, Fruge. Right, yes. It is French. So.
Right, the little apostrophe.
Yeah, a little accent d'aigu, as they call it in... probably all the French speakers are cringing at my pronunciation.
Right,
but that's
Fruge, yeah. Right. I was introduced to Kevin from our mutual friend, Robert Voorhees.
Yes, shout out to Robert.
Where he messaged me, he said, "You need to have Kevin on as a guest on your show." I said, "All right, I'll get on it." Kevin is a drummer for the South Florida hard rock, heavy metal powerhouse band, Angels of War. With things opening back up, venues are quickly filling up their gig schedule. They are filling up their gig schedules with venues asking to come and have them play. So which is great.
Yes.
Especially now with COVID, the break in schedules and so forth, where trying to keep relative and keep your momentum where everybody had before, which is challenging. So join me today where we're going to chat about drumming, learn more about his band, Angels of War, being a drum instructor at a local schools and privately. May even hear a mention of one of our previous guests. Growing up in Louisiana, how a certain album when he was a kid exploded his mind. And we'll do a little sample of some Old New Orleans rum, obviously in honor of where Kevin's from. Please welcome my guest today on the podcast, Angels of War drummer, Kevin Fruge.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to do this. A little nervous because I've never done anything like this before, and so hopefully everyone will be entertained at least, and maybe get a little something out of this. Who knows? But let's see where it goes.
Yeah, no, actually, and it's funny because you're right. It's I've done other things, and whether it's been the podcast or my other thing that I make more of my money on, my day job, and having to do some type of performance or in front of a camera, et cetera. And it's like, okay, why am I, I'm like, I play in front of people. I play the drums.
To be looking.
No, you're good. Yep, you're good. Yeah, all the he'll switch them up. So, yeah, it's We'll just relax. It's definitely, like I said, you're not getting interrogated, unless those in the chat want to ask the hard-hitting questions that I might go softball on with you.
I have the big light over my head.
That's right. Where were you on X date? So, so can you give a little intro, about yourself, a little bit more than what I just spit out there?
Okay. Well, like you said, I grew up in Southwest Louisiana in a little town called Creole in Cameron Parish, Louisiana. Shout out to all my Louisiana peeps down there, mom, dad, cousins, friends. all you guys. But yeah, it was just a small town, one red light. There was one corner. There was a bank, a hamburger stand, a gas station, a few businesses, and that was about it. And so for a young guy in a place like that to get exposed to music and to really start to get a passion for it, it was I really got a lot of that by hanging out with my cousins. My cousins lived a little ways away from us, and we just really got into music at a very young age. We were always playing like we were a band.
Mm-hmm.
The tennis rackets would come out, and we'd play on the tennis rackets. And my grandmother had this big ashtray in her house, and that was our drum kit. We'd sit down and we'd play, and then we'd pretend we were a band. And we always just kind of had that we shared together.
Right.
And my grandmother really, she encouraged that. She was the one that bought every single one of us our first instruments.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. My first drum kit was basically a toy out of the Sears catalog. I don't know how many people out there remember the Sears catalog, but every year at Christmas time, this thing called the Wish Book would come in the mail, and you would sit down and go through that thing and find everything you wanted for Christmas.
So for you that are listening that aren't Gen Xers or don't remember exactly what Kevin's referring to, that was pre-Amazon. It's basically is now.
Yes.
That's the Wish Book.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, Amazon is the Wish Book. Yeah, you're right, because my kids send me links to Amazon stuff. So this is what I want for Christmas. Right. And but we would go through and we'd circle those things in the Wish Book. And I had this little blue drum kit that my grandmother got for me, and it was basically a toy, but I learned to play on that thing. And I had to add a snare drum and hi-hat and all kind of cymbals to it. Right. And eventually, my cousins got guitars and basses, and we grew up playing music together. We were in a band together until probably the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
And we played together, just all the time. And it was, and thankfully my parents were very
supportive.
They were very supportive as well.
Right. Because usually when it's, you talk about, or most people talk about when kids go off to, see grandma and grandpa, they get spoiled, and then they come back home, right, whether it's been hopped up on sugar or whatever it is.
All of that.
And usually when somebody says, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a drum kit," like my nephew. I told my brother and sister-in-law the same thing. Was like, you want it? No problem. Again, they're like, shut up. We don't want a drum set. We don't want a drum kit in our house.
Yeah, I was that uncle also. I guess it was it last Christmas or no, not this past Christmas, Christmas before.
Okay.
My nephew, who is also my godchild, I got him a drum kit, and but he loves it, and he absolutely loves it, and his parents are okay with it. So
great.
Hopefully, we're grooming the next generation of drummers, up and comers.
And that's great because that foundation of your, grandmother encouraging or open, and obviously she's got, she encouraged it. She's probably got also you probably have a whole, interesting stories about music that she's liked or what her tastes were and exposed to certain things.
For sure. She, I remember we would go through her record collection, and we would find everything from old Cajun French records to, Fats Domino and Chubby Checker and to disco. she liked Casey and the Sunshine Band, believe it or not.
Okay.
So we would listen to that stuff. And then we would bring our own records over because we were into like Kiss and The Who and stuff like that, So, the only thing she would, when she would leave to go into town, which means going about 10 miles down the road to buy groceries, she would leave us at home sometimes, and we would take and turn that stereo up really loud, and she would get angry with us because she said, "Don't y'all turn that thing up loud while I'm gone." Well, and she would swear that she could hear the music from the time she got into the driveway. She could hear it, and she would get on to us about that. But we always had someone looking out, making sure when Grandma comes home, we turn the volume down.
Well, in that, your lookout would have to be probably like what, half a mile down the road.
Just kind of hanging out on the porch,
Yeah.
looking out the window every now and again. Go over and just look out the window and make sure grandma's not there. But yeah, we used to go in and stay. All of the cousins would go and stay with her for a couple of weeks every summer, and that was what we would do.
Right.
We would get into the record collection and pretend we were a band. And then later on, it came to the point that we would actually bring our instruments and move all of her furniture out of the front room and set up and just make so much noise that I don't know how they put up with it, but they did. She said she enjoyed it. Yeah. So thankful for Grandma.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, it's still being even though it may have been noise, she enjoyed it. She loved you guys, and just being around and spending time and and all that. So that's great. I know it's tougher nowadays. Things like that, and so forth. And very busy lives, and let alone obviously all the stuff we've been going over through the last year and visiting family or lack thereof, unfortunately. Right. So you got into drums and that drum kit and. So that was Louisiana.
Yes.
How'd you end up here?
How did I end up in Florida? Basically, my wife dragged me here kicking and screaming. Well, I met my wife in college in Louisiana, and she went to medical school in New Orleans. And when she got done with medical school, she got her residency in Orlando.
Okay.
So we had to move for her residency, and we had her parents actually live a little south of here in a place called Lantana. I'm sure you all know where that is. And while we were visiting, we just fell in love with Jupiter, and we decided to move there, and that's where we've been for the last 16 years.
And it's crazy that we live in the same town. I don't think we've bumped into each other. Like we were talking before the show, right? We've probably, I've at least probably seen you, play somewhere here and around town or West Palm or Palm Beach County for that matter, but just never actually.
Yeah. I've really kind of been off the bench as far as playing out in clubs and venues like that for about 3 years. For the most of the time I've been here, I've been playing in churches. And the way I met Robert, actually, was I was the drummer for their temple.
Okay.
Their cantor would do this thing every so often called Friday Night Live, where he'd rock up the service a little bit. And he would use a full band, so I was his drummer. Okay. And that's how Robert got to know me.
Okay.
And but all that time I'd been playing drums and bass in church. So you moved. Now, have you gone through which path have you come from? A schooling or drum? A lot of folks go through drum corps or in college, university, high school, or is it you totally self-taught and just a natural? Well, I kind of picked up music, like I told you. It was we were just around it a lot, just by listening to records and pretending a lot. I just kind of fell into music really. I guess I'm mostly self-taught, but I have taken lessons along the way.
Okay.
The first real lessons I ever took were piano lessons, and I was kind of learning to play piano at the same time I was learning to play the drums. So reading music kind of came easy for the drums for me. The way I got started playing piano was I have a good ear. I could sit down and pick things out by ear, and my dad had actually bought a piano and was taking lessons. And he decided, that that's something he'd always wanted to do.
Right.
And one day he came home, back up a little bit. He would sit down and play his little exercises and lessons, and I'd just kind of watch him. And he'd get up and go do something else, and I'd sit down and play him. And it frustrated him because he worked hard, but it seemed to come easy to me. And I don't know if you remember the Scott Joplin song, The Entertainer. You remember you remember a 1970s movie called The Sting?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
That song.
Like a rag. It was like a ragtime.
It's a ragtime song. Yeah. Well, that was the piano. That for me, that was the pinnacle of piano playing at the time.
Right.
So I sat down one day with an 8-track tape, and I listened to this thing, and I figured it out well enough to be able to play some of it. My dad came home from work, and I was playing it, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm playing the entertainer." He said, "How are you doing this?" I said, "Well, I listened to it and matched the pitch." He said, "That's it. You're taking my lesson spot." He said, "You're going to take lessons. If you can do that, not knowing anything, just think what you can do if you know what you're doing."
Oh, right.
So that really started me on a path learning a little more formally about music,
So, and we're probably about the same age and so forth. So yes, this is where our generation that grew, the formation of real true the video game age, in the 80s turned into what it is today. And this is what happens when you don't have the internet and you don't have video games. You have all these other things to spend your time on. And again, I'm not knocking. I know there's a lot of younger folks out there today that are very focused on music, but the majority, if it wasn't there around, I probably been the same way too. Is there was other distractions.
Yeah.
Because there's so much now out there today to compete for everyone's interest and so forth. But no, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm sure. Like I'm saying crazy, and it's probably exactly what you said. Your dad just thought it was like. Shit,
Yeah, he
okay,
couldn't believe it.
Okay, I'm done playing. I'm done playing the piano, right?
So he put me in lessons, and that's kind of where it all started.
Right.
And as far as drums go, I tried using books, and I tried figuring out technique. Thankfully, the band director at my high school was a pretty decent percussionist, so she was able to help me a little bit, and I joined the band at school, obviously, and then she had me go to band camps over the summer, and I kind of learned a lot of technique and things by going to those things and being around other experienced musicians,
right?
And because I had no idea, I didn't know what I was doing. My friends knew that I had a drum set, so I remember this one time I went to when I went to band camp, the director in the stage band was asking, "All right, who plays drum set back there?" And my friend looks and points at me, and I said, "No, I don't really know how to play it. I can beat on it, but I don't really know what I'm doing." And there was another guy that played, and he sat down and really played the drum set, and that was the first time I'd ever really seen somebody sit down with it set up properly, where the snare goes, where the hi-hat goes, and actually keep a beat on it. I'd heard it on records and stuff like that, but I watched this guy and I said, "Oh, that's how you do it." So when I got home, I rearranged my drum kit and started playing that way.
Right.
And I'm a left-hander, so that was a right-handed configuration. So that's how I learned how to play. I learned how to play in a right-handed configuration.
So you're lefty, but play right-handed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how is your cross or independence or playing open?
I can play open pretty well. It's not it's when you get used to a certain thing, you kind of get your brain just kind of naturally
right.
It goes there. So it did take a little work to go the other direction.
The muscle
but
memory.
Probably not as much work as a right-hander trying to go left-handed.
Right.
Is that if that makes sense?
Yeah, no. And well, that's like baseball,
right?
There's a lot of people that are righty or lefty, but they catch and throw different. So it always seems like it's interesting, and some of it is probably how kids grow up learning to do a certain way, or taught or enforced to be righty,
right?
That are maybe lefties or so on and so forth. So
yeah, my wife says that she was supposed to be left-handed, but she was forced to be a righty.
Right. So it has so I don't know if that's a thing of the past. Well, I don't know. Unfortunate. So,
but getting back to that path, I was kind of like that for most of the time that I was playing until early 2000s. I really started watching a lot of what Steve Smith and Dave Weckl and Neil Peart, those guys were taking lessons, and it really inspired me to seek out a teacher. And I found a guy by the name of Joey Eberline, who's out in Claremont, Florida, just to the outside of Orlando. And I studied with him for about 3 years, and he really brought me to another level with my rudimental drum playing, sight reading, drum charts, and control over double bass. He really did a lot for me. And I mean, one of the things he used to do to me was he would take a drum part. He'd take whatever groove was written on the page and have me play it regularly. Then he'd say, all right, close the hi-hat. Now play it with your left foot. And then he said, now play it alternating your 2 feet, every other hit. So if you have an odd number of bass drum hits on the next measure, you're leading with the opposite side. And I used to curse him because that was hard. And that was like a migraine for me, But there was one night I was playing with a band, and the spring on my primary pedal popped off. So I closed the hi-hat, and I played the rest of the set with the left pedal. The next day I called him and thanked him, because without those exercises and without him pushing me to do that, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Wow.
So
that's
so thank you, Joey.
Yeah. the importance of is the limbs and independence in each one to force, and I know that's always seems to be every drummer's struggles is learning to improve your weaker foot or hand, etc.
Right.
So that's
yeah. Buddy Rich used to do everything left-handed. He said he'd brush his teeth left-handed. He would drink left-handed. He would open doors, shake hands. He used to do that just to force himself to use his left side. Yeah. And of course, his left hand was legendary.
Yeah,
so ridiculous.
Some people wouldn't actually probably believe that. You're like, you're yeah, okay. You're just trying to make us all feel better. Which I don't know. I've seen videos and so forth. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's he'd be want us to feel better. I think he's he's a tough guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I've heard some of the recordings. He was pretty tough on his band, but hey, I guess if anybody could. Request perfection, that was the guy that could do it. He was amazing.
So other instruments then came pretty easy for you then.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was just exposure and being around them. Mm-hmm. Guitar I picked up just by watching friends, and I would go home and try things myself, and I never really took guitar lessons, but I had exposure to people who had good technique and who played very well. So probably the first guy I learned stuff from, I don't know if he's watching, but my friend Rodney LaBeouf, he was a guitar player I learned a lot from early on, just because he and I would sit on the phone for hours and try to pick out solos note for note, and he'd play it and I'd say, no, wait, that third note is bring it down a little bit. We would sit there and we would go note for note and try to figure out chords, songs, and things like that. And I learned a lot from him early on about guitar, and bass kind of came as a natural, blend of the rhythm from guitar and the melodic side of guitar. I mean, rhythm from drums and melodic side of guitar.
So since you said you have, a very good ear for picking things out, what do you do, or are you concerned about your hearing, especially playing this kind of instrument, right?
Well, early on I was not. I didn't care very much. But as I've gotten older, I've really started to find the value in protecting my hearing. Right. I use in-ear monitors for everything. With Angels of War, at church, as often as I can, I use my in-ear monitors. Okay. Because I can deliver that sound right to my ears and control the volume without having to overpower anything.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen I think it was Netflix. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. The movie.
Yes, The Sound of Metal.
Yes.
I have not watched it all the way through. Unfortunately, I started watching it late one night and fell asleep.
Yeah, it's a little hard to get through. There's some it's a. Right, but
yeah, I want to watch it in its entirety. It looks like it'd be really good.
All right, so I won't spoil for you.
But yeah, I've tried the hi-fi ear, the earplugs that supposedly filter sound and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't like those as much, but I love my in-ear monitors. Once I got started with in-ears, I never looked back. But I think it's very, very important. And I always joke that seems that the frequency range of my hearing loss is right in the same frequency range as my wife's voice. So.
But
yeah.
All these drummers here. Where's our?
So hopefully she's watching, and I'm going to be in trouble when I get home.
All right. Well. So that's so you led you journey from Louisiana to Orlando into Florida. We talked about a little bit about your church or church gigs, and in performing. I think I know you'd performed in a Heart tribute band as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's kind of sounds very cool.
That was a lot of fun, and I'm really sad that fell apart the way it did. COVID really took its toll on that setup, because some extremely talented musicians there. We really captured the look and sound and feel of a Heart show. We really did. And unfortunately, we never could gain momentum because COVID just really shut all the venues that we were trying to play down. Our last gig was, I think, last August at the Funky Biscuit. Okay. And we had a great show. It was so much fun. And then, we just could never pick up any momentum. And then, I think a lot of things were frustrating to the personnel, and it just kind of fell apart. But we are looking to do something new this year with some of the members from that band.
Okay.
We're gonna try to put something together and see if we can do something that's not just Heart. It'll include Heart, but it'll be a lot of other different things.
And I've seen some tribute bands kind of blend in a couple of bands, right?
Right.
Which obviously widens the catalog.
Right.
And then you can still do certain things.
Yeah. But Heart has such a huge catalog of music and so many great classic tunes that you could really, you can just create an entire show just on that. And Ann and Nancy, come on, they're just amazing.
It reminds me of another tribute band. I'll tell you in a second, or lack thereof, mostly. But yeah, a Heart tribute band. I haven't seen, but I can assume that you guys were phenomenal because again, and Nancy and Ann, right, is those vocals have got to be there.
Yeah, to try to capture those type of vocals. And one of the stories I tell about when I went to audition for this band was when I went there, I wasn't expecting, I was expecting it to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be this good. When I sat down and started playing, I felt like I was playing to a backing track because every sound was there. The vocals were perfect. The bass player, this guy was our Geddy Lee. He did it all. He played bass, he played keyboards, he played the pedals, he played flute, and he sang. He did all of that on the fly, real time.
Wow.
Just amazing. I was always in awe of that guy's talent, and don't know how he did it, but he did, and it was amazing, awesome.
Cool. So the other tribute band that I've not seen. So there's the two real quick tribute band comments is, you don't see a Rush tribute band.
There is one.
One, yeah.
Around here. Yep. And love those guys. They're awesome. Crush. Is
okay.
Their name. Yeah.
Okay, I think I've gotten that. But there's not like you don't have. So they've and I think I've heard of them, haven't seen them, but I'm sure there's a reason why there's only probably one band, only because that is almost
the audience is very specialized for a Rush tribute band.
Right.
A friend there's a couple of friends of mine and I tried to start a Rush tribute band several years ago, and we could never gain traction.
Right.
And finding someone to be our Geddy Lee, our singer, that's one of the biggest challenges because trying to capture his vocals in an authentic way is really tough.
Right.
So we never really gained any traction. We would love to do it, but it's a hard nut to crack.
Right. And I know South Florida's got there's certain types of music that's probably more open. There are places to play a lot of maybe heavier style music, hard rock, as we'll talk a little bit more about Angels of War. And Orlando is one of those, it's almost like once you pass south of I-4, it's, hard rock is very difficult to get into. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know there's hard rock acts and so forth here,
right.
but another one I think be fun to probably do, but probably wouldn't get maybe a whole lot of traction down in this area is, somebody mentioned this the other day, was because I commented about the bass line to Got the Time by Anthrax.
Oh,
it's like, man, you talk about a tribute band on
yes,
that, right?
Yes, I Among the Living was the soundtrack to my college years. I love that album. It's still in my playlist. I love I Am the Law.
Right, yes.
One of my favorite thrash songs ever. I love that tune.
So between them and Iron Maiden, it's like two songs about Indian related songs and just thundering drums, and I don't know if that was just by coincidence at that time. I don't have the history or knowledge of, just happened to be coincident or someone inspired the other, I guess, but
right.
I'm sure Maiden probably inspired Anthrax. I don't know, but I'm sure we'll probably open up a whole debate over that one then. But anyway, so let's jump in there now. This band here, Angels of War. So I'm going to go ahead and change the
all right.
the trademark fedora there
change
that I normally wear. There you
the
go.
chapeau there.
So thank you for the hat, and thank you guys in the rest of the band there. So
I'll give a shout out to my boys, Kevin Robb, our singer, Joe Suma, our lead guitarist, Nabla, our second lead rhythm guitarist, and Patrick Connor, our bass player. Man, love those guys so much, and I can't wait to hit the stage with them tonight. We have a gig tonight at Connolly's.
Okay.
So so we're looking forward to making everyone's eardrums bleed. So,
I think that gig is like a 6-hour gig for you, right?
It's a long one. We have one other band playing with us. Body Blow is our opening band, and we'll be playing the two subsequent sets.
Okay.
And so it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it.
Cool, very cool. So let's tell us about Angels of War.
Are you looking for history, how it started, or what we're doing?
Wherever you feel you want to go.
Well, currently, I mean, what we do, we are a hard rock and heavy metal, classic hard rock and heavy metal cover band. And we play lots of Iron Maiden, lots of Black Sabbath, lots of Led Zeppelin. We play some Deep Purple. We play Dio, a couple of Ozzy tunes. Saxon, love Saxon.
Ooh, okay.
Judas Priest. Pretty much. You can reach into that bag of
lots
of old hard hitting metal and find what we're doing. But like I was telling you earlier, we are planning to work on some original music in the new year.
Great.
This year, we've got a couple of songs in the pike that are being developed. Our guitarist Joe has supplied us with some really, really cool riffs that we're going to springboard and hopefully develop some songs. We've got one that's really heavy, and it's I believe it's tuned down to C sharp. It's really low and heavy. It's got that old Black Sabbath tuned down feel to it, and it's going to be called Lockdown. So
I wonder why.
We're really kind of taking advantage of the experience of the COVID lockdown, and we're gonna hopefully have that developed pretty soon.
So how long are you the newest member or
no?
Somewhere?
The crazy thing, the way all of this happened was goes back to our friend Robert. He and I played in a band called Crossover together. We were a cover band playing lots of different styles and genres and bridging all the decades of rock and roll. And he left the band, and another guitarist came in and replaced him. And but we had a gig at a place called Rockin' Angels down in Boca. The owner of that club heard me playing. I was warming up. We were doing sound check, and myself and the newer guitarist, both metalheads. So we're playing some Metallica, and I'm playing some double bass stuff. I'm just going nuts. And he approached me and said, "Hey, you sound like you a little different from the rest of these guys." He said, "You're a metal drummer." I said, "Yeah, at my core, I guess I am." So he said, "I've got a friend and I are going to be starting a new project in the new year." This was 2018 looking to 2019.
Okay. He
said, "And it's a metal project, and would you want to be involved?" Sure. Well, we played that gig. The following Monday, Crossover broke up.
Oh.
So, yeah, it just kind of went straight to the toilet there during our band debriefing, and it just kind of, some things got out of hand. There were some things that were going on behind the scenes, a lot of perceptions that were just too far gone to save at that point,
right.
So anyway, that finished.
One door closes, one opens, right?
And I was, a couple months go by, and I'm thinking, well, this may or may not materialize. And all of a sudden, I got a message from Nay, who was the owner of Rockin' Angels. Said, "Hey, you still interested in that metal project?" "Yeah, let's do it." So we got together. We actually met for a jam night at Rockin' Angels, and we just got on stage and jammed a couple of tunes, and it kind of gelled. It sounded pretty good, so we decided to get together for a rehearsal. And I think we were not really knowing what was going to come of it. We figured we'll play a few gigs and maybe it'll run its course. But after it's been almost 2 years, it's been over 2 years now, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's really gone a lot farther than any of us, I think, really expected. So yeah, that's kind of the way that happened. It's like you said, the one door closed, the other one opened, and here we are.
Right.
And I'm loving it. I'm having the time of my life. I'm playing the music I love with guys I love, and for people that love to hear it. So
and you can't, again, as a musician, and especially for, time is, nobody wants to waste time or have certain, whatever. So it's great that there's a great relationship that you have with your bandmates, that, there's not, bad juju or whatever you want to call it, and being able to play in the end.
Right. The one thing I really have enjoyed is that there has not been any major drama. We've had little disagreements about little things here and there, but it has been so minor.
Right.
And everybody, I think, just really respects each other, and we really like each other as people. We're friends, and and we're all just very like-minded. One thing I really love is that when we decide we're going to learn new music, everybody shows up to rehearsal prepared. Everybody does their homework. We get in there, we get it done. There's nobody just doesn't know what they're doing,
Right.
So there's a level of professionalism there that I think I'm really lucky to have with these guys.
No, that's again, right. That's great. So let's take a look at here in the chats here. We'll try to catch up here. So Kevin
Robb.
Yeah,
that's our singer.
All right.
Hey, Kev.
So two Kevs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of us may have to change our name. Dream Theater did that when they got their singer James LaBrie. His name is really Kevin James LaBrie, and they had Kevin Moore was their keyboard player, so they made him change his name, and now he's just James LaBrie. But now they've got another keyboard player. So
do you think that was a whole matter of rock paper scissors or something? Probably. More than that,
I don't know. Maybe they got in the octagon and fought it out. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So there you go. Metal and martial arts. There you go. So
yeah,
there you go. You might be onto something.
Oh, I love it.
There you go.
Love it.
Put
some Anthrax on, and get that anger going.
There you go. And, somebody's caught in a mosh. All right. So so Justin talked about, I heard those recordings, more of a demand for perfect and slew of insults and threats. I think we were talking about maybe Buddy Rich. I think we were mentioning.
Oh yeah.
And yep, and I think Made of Metal has done tributes for Anthrax here in South Florida. So Suma, is your singer?
Made of Metal. No, he is our guitar player.
Okay.
And he's written some great riffs. So he's the guy that handles all of our marketing and our Facebook and all that. He's the guy that does all of that.
So yes, Kevin was sharing me with that. I feel for you. All the social media sharing and all keeping everything out there and going.
Yeah. So Joe is the one that was really instrumental in sharing this podcast out for this week. I think he shared it like 30 times. It was crazy. He's got so many groups that he's a part of that he was able to share it to.
Well, thank you for sharing. So I appreciate the getting the word out there and likewise
for sure.
For you guys. So tonight, you mentioned tonight you got a show, and so where some other places here in South Florida that you guys play?
Well, the footage that you saw at the beginning was taken at Mickey's Tiki Bar down in Pompano.
Okay.
We play at Connolly's quite a bit. We're booked in there at least a couple times. Well, let me see. Well, I've got a list here of our upcoming shows. We have 10 shows on the books for 2021. Tonight at Connolly's. Next weekend we're playing at a private event for motorcycle club. Then we're playing at Johnny Q's in February. And back at Connolly's on March 5th, March 19th at Crazy Uncle Mike's. This is going to be a fun one. We're opening for Completely Unchained, the Van Halen tribute.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be a killer show. Those guys, have you seen those guys?
No.
They're incredible. They're really good. And that's going to be a fun gig. We're going to be opening for them at Crazy Uncle Mike's. April 10th, we're going to be at Elmo's. April 24th, back at Johnny Q's. May 15th, back at Connolly's. June 12th, Johnny Q's, and then in August, back at Johnny Q's. So we've got a whole list. We kind of make the rounds mostly between like Connolly's, Johnny Q's, Elmo's, but we're hoping to get into some other places. We're looking to get in some places maybe up in the Treasure Coast.
Okay.
And I know there are a lot of other live venues, live music venues that would be really great for this band.
Right.
And I think we could attract a good crowd, and I think it would be a lot of fun. So we're hoping, hopefully we can get the exposure and get out there and get picked up by some other venues.
Is everybody in the band in Palm Beach County, or is anybody that lives up?
We're all Kevin and I are both up in Jupiter.
Okay.
And I think the rest of the guys are down in the Boca, Lake Worth areas,
South County.
So
area,
and then our bass player lives out, I think, near Loxahatchee, somewhere a little farther west.
Okay.
So
so there's I've been to a few places and have played in the prior band that played mostly up in the Treasure Coast and St. Lucie area, and there's quite as you said quite a few places that would be good venues for that. And so, especially and then and just to pass along is once you've got some of the live stuff or even ready to perform, there is a event in Central Florida for original music festival. And they do, I think, a couple times a year between Daytona and also in Deltona or somewhere up there in the Volusia area. And we had played one March when they had it in Daytona on Main Street. So we played. It was you talk about music, original music, and all sorts of types of music too. Yeah. All on Main Street. Great.
That's cool.
Check out all different venues. Everyone's playing in a different venue. So all the bars and the places are all hosting different stages. And remember we played in the parking lot. There's two stages at Boot Hill. One was inside, one was outside.
Right.
And we played in the parking lot of the Boot Hill and then Main Street Station, I think it was. But yeah, something, it's kind of an interesting,
I had the experience one time playing with a band up in Daytona for Bike Week. And that was a blast. That was a lot of fun. I'd love for Angels of War to get up there and play for Bike Week.
Oh yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, you guys definitely would fit.
I mean, we play a lot of music about driving fast and riding motorcycles, driving cars. So yeah, I think it would be a great fit. I know it's a lot of fun. I've experienced it once, and I'd love to take this band up there and do that.
All right, well, see, hopefully somebody's watching or somebody can share and get you guys plugged into some of those venues. I mean, yeah. We know Bike Week, we're still kind of this year is hopefully we're getting closer to normal and
it's kind of like Mardi Gras with Chrome,
Oh,
but Mardi Gras I think is going to be a bust this year too.
Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
That's really sad. So how did you? So as you mentioned, you're growing up and you're listening to music and you've got a lot of obviously influences. And as you're a kid, that you're listening to probably one of the biggest bands that was out there at that time in the late 70s and 80s, like a band like Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you were listening to the station that was actually a Texas station,
yes,
right?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
And and you just were kind of like, whoa. Wait, what did I just hear? Right?
Yep.
Boom. And again, remember, this is all for everyone this is all before internet, before the explosion of how to even learn and find out about all these other music.
Well, like I told you before, my first inspiration was Kiss. Peter Criss. I wanted to be Peter Criss, but I wanted to wear Gene Simmons' makeup, So, but I loved Kiss. And I was into a lot of rock and roll, but one night I was lying in my bed listening to there was a rock station in Beaumont, Texas, and they played a lot of great. I found so much great music by listening to that station. I had the headphones on. It's late at night, and all of a sudden I hear the opening to 2112, and I kind of sat up. Took notice as the whole overture starts. And then once Temples of Syrinx started, I was done. I mean, when I heard that first descending tom roll down about 800 toms and just with such power and precision, it just blew me away.
Right.
And at the end of that song, I was like, who was that? I was begging the DJ to please tell me who that was. And when he said that was Rush with 2112, I became a student of Neil Peart at that moment, and still am.
Right.
I mean, it was a life-changing musical experience for me. It really was.
And I think most people that may not get it, But again, I think kind of to the point now with his passing. So there's a little bit more, in the news. Obviously, the covering of that, and like Queen, the movie came out. There was a lot of people relearned it,
Mm-hmm.
Back then, Rush and Queen, they were bands that were not the pop and up there.
They were very progressive. I mean, they were doing things that no one else was doing. I mean, they were making, these epic 15-minute songs, and nobody was doing that.
Right.
But I loved every minute of it. It really, quenched that thirst I had for another level of musicianship.
Right,
I guess.
to take it. Right, yeah. Whereas, again, not knocking Kiss, but Kiss has got their place in what they do and so forth. But
and they're
then
great at it.
To compare it. So, and what most people, and again, if you're a drummer, you probably know this, but those that don't, that Neil wrote the lyrics.
Right.
Right. So he didn't sing them, but
brilliant.
You talk about
poet.
the trust and and that collaboration to say, hey, Geddy, here's your words. Now, again, I'm sure there's probably some adjusting and whatnot, but yeah, how many drummers actually that influenced?
But him being a lyricist, that had an effect on how he played the drums.
Right.
And he was not just a timekeeper. He was an orchestration. He was a part of the
professor.
Bigger. Oh yeah, he was a part of a bigger thing.
Right.
Much more than just driving the time and playing a fill here and there. It was so much more of an orchestration.
Right.
And he single-handedly changed the way people would approach the drums for years to come.
Right.
I mean, forever, actually.
There's like a lot of things in life, there's certain things, there's the watermark moments where either it's an influencer or somebody, takes it, or there's another part, whether it was, like we talked earlier about the Buddy Riches, and then, some of those, and then you got another, because everyone is all influence on each other, and then they take and create their own, styles and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's probably I didn't have quite the same experience, but lying in a bed and listening to from a radio station in Texas. But my older cousin had a lot of albums, and and I'd heard 2112 for that first. We're like, okay, this is like so like cosmic and and out there and so forth, and it's very much like, you've the average person probably wouldn't really be palatable for them because it's an acquired.
Yeah. And then after you get past that first initial song, or the first movement of what's a much bigger story with that album, and you get into the story, you realize it's almost like you're listening to a movie,
right.
or you're imagining this movie going on while you're listening to this music, or you could almost see a stage production,
right.
acting all of this out. It just wasn't done at the time. They really pioneered, a big movement in the concept album realm.
Right.
They weren't the first to do it, obviously, but
right.
they really took it to another level, I thought.
Right. But and for those that that are listening, later on the podcast or listening here live on the stream, just think about those of you that are Rush fans. And again, just think back to this time that Kevin's describing here. It probably, again, I think it still happens, can happen today, but no other distractions. You're sitting in your room, you got this album, and you're just listening to it from end to end. And again, you're just kind of like reading.
Yeah.
The pictures in your head, you're kind of imagining what the lyrics are or the words are, etc. And again, let alone the flipping through the album, that's a whole experience too, right?
Right.
Which is somewhat lost. I know it's kind of making a comeback. So, and it just. So you're right. And so again, their taste and their styles had changed a bit. Like any real band's got to be progressive, right? Not going to do the same thing. And again, you may alienate a few fans here and there, but you're also having that same, strength to move forward as your vision and not what others.
I think ultimately, though, for Rush, everybody was kind of on board with them. They may not have liked certain things at the time they were doing them, but all of us came around to it. Like their heavy synth stuff in the 80s. I wasn't a big fan, but now I go back and listen to that, and I love it.
Right.
I absolutely love it. It's it's so good. It's so well done. And just if for nothing else but the lyrics alone, but the music, the musicianship is on a level that most of us mere mortals will never attain, Right. But we can sit in awe of greatness, and we can certainly enjoy it and listen to it, learn from it,
right.
and do all of that. So
speaking of his 600, did you say 600 toms?
Tom
roll, right?
It sounded like it was a whole lot of them.
Right. Yeah. So, your current configuration you're playing is, describe that.
Okay. Well, I actually have two configurations I use for Angels of War depending on the venue we're in. Like tonight, I'm going to use the smaller scaled down version, smaller stage. We need a little more real estate, it's a Pearl Super Pro GLX, which is a mid 1980s drum kit.
Okay. And
it's all maple, and the configuration for the full kit are two 22-inch kicks, 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch rack toms, all 8-inch deep. Two floor toms, a 16 and an 18-inch floor tom. Now the snare is a beast. It is 8 inches by 14. It's a big snare.
Wow.
So this thing,
cracks.
Our guitarist Joe complains that hurts his ears when I hit the snare. But yeah, it's a beast. It sounds amazing, and I love it. And so that's the drum configuration, and I have all of that on a Gibraltar rack. Because I like the racks because I realized one day that with all the stuff that I have on my kit, I have so many tripods taking up so much room, that with the rack I have 2 legs going down, everything's on it. And it really makes the footprint of a big drum kit a little more compact.
Right.
So it kind of made sense.
Right. And
cymbals, I'm using Sabian, all AAX signatures, all upper end stuff.
Right.
I'm using a 16-inch, 17, an 18, and a 19 crashes, just dispersed different ways. Have an 18-inch China, have 14-inch AAX stage hats.
Okay.
I have a Mike Portnoy signature splash that I'm using, and my ride cymbal is a Rod Morgenstein signature 21-inch ride. Love that ride cymbal. It's so versatile. It's unlathed about halfway up the shoulder and over the bell, and all the way out from about halfway up the shoulder to the edge. It is lathed, so you can get some wash on it, but you can get a lot of stick definition up toward the bell. Yeah. And then whenever I have the double kick set up, I have a set of Paiste Sound Edge hi-hats, 2002 Sound Edge hi-hats on an X hat. So that's it. That's what I'm using, and then of course cowbells and little stuff like that, auxiliary percussion, because we have to play Twisted Sister, right?
Right.
We have to have cowbell for that.
So it's definitely a good excuse, to let the spouses know that it's like, hey, I've got to be very diverse, and that's why I need to buy all this,
Yeah.
So that's why Sweetwater's calling.
Sweetwater, I love it. My kids like it when I get boxes from Sweetwater because they put candy in the package, But yeah, and I also have another smaller kit that I used with All Heart, and that I'll be using hopefully with this new band. It is also a Pearl, but it's a Masters Maple Reserve, 4-ply maple with reinforcement rings, in a custom color called Red Sparkle Lacquer.
Okay.
Beautiful. It's got that vintage vibe to it, And so it's a 18 by 22 kick, a 13-inch rack tom, 16 and 18-inch floor toms, kind of the John Bonham type setup,
right.
With the same cymbals, So,
if you're looking for, you check out a previous podcast that we've done with Dan Grabsky. He owns a drum shop in Daytona.
Okay.
So he's got like very, it's not like the box stores. I'll just say that, right?
Right.
And so he's got some hard to find stuff. He's a gear guy. He knows, he said growing up.
Where is he again?
Daytona Beach.
Yep. Daytona Beach, okay.
Daytona Beach Drum Center is the, so again, maybe reach out to him, check out the shop up there, and it also, since he's in Daytona, may have maybe a few contacts or whatever you guys up there.
I've worked with Jeffrey Lee down at Resurrection Drums. He helped me get a couple of pieces for this Masters Maple Reserve kit.
Very cool.
So
maybe you can help me get a connection with those, because I'd love to have them on the podcast as well too. Yeah. So I know I made a trip down there end of 2019 during end of December and bought and again. There's nothing like being able to go, and this, Kevin, going into a place that lets you play the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I spent probably a good, at least an hour just looking. I was trying to find new hi-hats, trying to find a new ride, and I ended up with, one of a Zildjian crash ride, and again, just plain, it's talk about ear protection, because you got to be hearing all sorts of those things. But yeah, I know that place has always been there. Every time I go to Miami, I see the sign along 95.
You see it right off the interstate there.
Yeah. Okay, I keep forgetting where I'm at. Every time I go down there, I try to remember. But yeah, I'd love to, maybe hopefully connect with those guys too.
Yeah, Jeff's a good guy. He helped me get a couple of pieces that I was having trouble getting the finding someone to get in contact with Pearl for me to kind of broker that order that I needed, and he stepped right in and did it, and good stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So so why don't we just take a quick little not a break, but a little as I said in honor of Kevin being from Louisiana here, I have not opened up. I got this bottle when I was traveling through the state last year, and looking for some craft rum, something that I'm not going to find back here in Florida.
Right.
And I've had this probably on the bar at home. Bought three bottles of the Old New Orleans. I haven't opened them yet, and I'm trying to figure out, well, when do I want to open them? How do I want to try them? And then again, the connection here with Robert, and said reach out to Kevin, and finding out that he's from Louisiana. It's like, okay, yep, now's the time.
Well, the crazy thing is, like I told you, I don't drink much at all, and I'm not much of a rummer, drummer, but not much of a rummer. I'll give it a shot, but I probably won't know it from anything else.
Yeah,
but I'm willing to give it a shot with you.
All right, we'll go through. All right, well, that was easy. I was worried about that. I was gonna have to fight this bottle to get off there. So, okay, that's gonna be interesting. So, do you like spicy foods?
I love spicy food.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I know.
The more Tabasco and cayenne pepper, the better.
All right. So let's. I'll let you sample a little bit.
All right. We just shoot it.
Yeah. We'll just kind of give it a smell. If you want to give it a smell first before you make sure
Okay.
it's.
Yeah.
It's an interesting.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a spice to it.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, it does. So.
Reminds me a little bit of a fireball shot.
Yeah. So don't tell don't let my wife know. So because she likes fireball. So we can try it a couple. If you want to try it a couple of cubes, maybe just kind of if you want.
Sure. I know we got a little bit there. Why not? I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just taking what you give me here. Like I said, I'm not a drinker. I'll have a shot with the guys in the band if we have a great show.
Right.
We do a lot of fireball shots. I'll do one shot with them and that's it.
Right.
Celebratory stuff.
Right.
But just as being a recreational drinker, it's just not me.
Right. Right.
But I don't have any problem with it.
Just your yep.
Do your thing. But.
And that's one thing I think I always worry about other guests. And Ringo was supposed to, and I guess his band is supposed to still come through Pompano or Boca sometime this year.
I hadn't heard about that.
Okay. Yeah. So he has his all-star band and all sorts of killer musicians backing his band.
Is his son playing drums for him, or is
no? I believe it's Greg Bissonette.
Oh, Greg's amazing. I got to go to one of his clinics back in early 2000s and got to meet him and talk with him a little bit. That guy could be a stand-up comedian. If he ever lost his ability to drum, he makes you laugh.
He's definitely got an interesting voice, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but he's a great drummer though. I mean, he's I learned a lot from him. He did a whole highlight on Beatles music.
Okay.
And why Ringo's parts were harder than you think. And it was very interesting because he was picking apart things like the little double 16th note, from on the tom and snare and Take It to Ride, and just that little tiny thing. You don't pick it. You don't really think about it, but when you go to play it, that's harder than you think to do that in unison.
Yeah.
It's
So he's back in that band. Colin Hay from Men at Work is also another name. So he was supposed to come through last year, and I think he tours normally, and he was supposed to come through last year. I was wanting to go see him, just starting out the podcast. It was one of those, oh hey, while he's here, kind of gonna interview a Beatle, but at the same time, I was thinking, I'm like, well, he's also right. He's he doesn't drink anymore, and and I say, well, I know the name in the podcast is could be a little put off. I'm sure maybe for some, right? If you don't, which is fine because we don't always have to have or be part major part of the podcast and so forth. And but anyway. So yeah, but I appreciate having that with me there. So
no, it's great.
So
it actually tasted better than I thought it would.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Okay.
Had that little cinnamon, spice to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a silver, and I think they have a dark one. So like I said, I've got two other bottles at home that I haven't even cracked open yet, and again, it's part of the journey here. So, so at least now I had a reason to.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
At least it didn't taste like drinking straight Tabasco or Crystal sauce or something like that. So,
so how do you go from again switching on and off, and again it's just you're just a musician, right? That's it. You're here for the gig, you're here for the job, and you're doing and what's being asked, and just as you mentioned a little bit about church, playing at church, and then maybe later in the evening playing at a hard rock heavy metal band, right? Which I'm sure some folks would be like.
Well, the disconnect there. How do you bridge that gap? And I've thought about this, and how could I explain it? It's kind of hard to explain, honestly. But I approach playing in church. It's a totally different reason to be playing. My faith is a really big part of who I am, and when I'm playing in church, I'm not playing for performance reasons. I'm playing for, connecting with my fellow worshipers and connecting to God.
Right.
That's what I'm playing for, and it's as simple as that. And anything else is pretentious and gets in the way of that.
Right.
Really. And now when I'm with the band, we're performing, we're all out, and I almost see it. It's really not a great metaphor, but kind of like if a Christian actor takes a part in a movie that has some maybe some racy stuff in it. I don't know if that's a good.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's a very good analogy.
I'm playing the role, but I'm not just doing it to play the role. I love the music. I love being on stage with my brothers. Right. I love being with the audience, and I don't see performing as me getting up there and doing something for you. I see us and doing something together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create an atmosphere where we're having a unified moment there. We're experiencing something together.
Right.
I might be playing and you might be listening and singing, but we're both experiencing something. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Performing isn't just for oneself.
Right.
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 Maybe. I know some venues may feel like that, but or if when you're practicing. But you're right. That's why people come to see performances. And I know people are dying to get back out.
To be a part of something.
Yeah,
you don't want to just watch somebody do something. You want to be a part of that. That's why live music exists. I mean, you could sit at home and watch as many concerts on TV as you want.
Right.
You could listen to as many records as you want. But why go see somebody play that live?
Right.
It's a different experience.
Totally.
You want to be a part of something. You want to experience something with people and with the band, not watching the band.
Right.
There's an intangible connection there that I'm trying to describe, and it's hard to describe. But I think everyone who is a fan of live music gets that. They get it, and they know what I'm talking about.
And especially something like at festivals, right? Why it seems like it's just a craziness, but if you not let yourself go, but you are there to enjoy the surroundings, the sights, sounds, and so forth. And I always, whether we're choosing to go someplace out to eat or whatnot, I'm not a big foodie, but again, if it's about the environment, or if there's some music, or hey, food is food. But if you're there and the atmosphere is just awesome, then it's like and I get it.
It's a deeper experience than just listening, just and as a musician, that musicians listen to music differently than everyone else. we don't just hear the song, we hear everything.
Right.
We know that contrapuntal movement that happens. We know
he missed that note.
We know that 64th note that should have been there. And that's one thing when you were talking about a Rush tribute band. As a drummer in a Rush tribute band, you probably are the most scrutinized person.
For sure.
Because if you miss one fill, one crash, one splash, one anything, everybody who's a fan of that band knows it.
And again, I'm going to say something probably very controversial here, and to say that any drummers that are that are out there, I think I'm just take it for, don't get too into what I'm going to say. I just don't think they want to put their balls out there for that.
It's a tough place to be, because
right.
you have to fill Neil's shoes. You have to play it the way he plays it, or else it's not right.
Right.
And going back to what I was saying before about a lot of bands, you can keep time and throw fills and kind of feel it more. With Rush, you can't, because it's so well orchestrated.
Right.
If you don't do it, it doesn't feel right. It's not the song. Everyone misses it if
right.
you don't put it in there.
Right. So what was the comments there? Two different monsters. It's the great live stream versus live debate. So two different monsters to me. Nothing can replace live, but there are great things that are only possible via live streams. Definitely different mediums for sure. All right, so that's between Justin and then Charlene. I like the live streams because less people, but I really do miss live. Yeah, that is true. It's the live streams have been great. I remember when COVID first started, lockdown started happening, everybody was trying to figure out, now what do we do? And that's why it was impossible to find webcams and microphones and everything, because everyone was buying them up to do stuff at home, and kids doing schoolwork and those that are live stream, at least seeing some sort of music. But again, the other part of not only just the live streams here is, as we mentioned before, here, Justin, the owner here of Live Music Community, who hosts live streams for bands that are here in the area, to kind of help promote and get them out there and share the music and keep things moving and so forth. Again, keeping relativeness is making sure that there's an aspect of keeping venues alive, keeping getting the bands, there's a monetary thing too to help support all that ecosystem that is, and unfortunately there's some venues that have had to close.
Yeah, it's been heartbreaking to see some of the venues that have gone by the wayside just because they can't make it during this time.
And them doing live streams, just solely live streams as a bar, it's great, but what else?
Yeah, but you don't have anything bringing the money in.
Right.
You can put it out there, and it's great, and people can support by watching. But if you're not selling, you're not supporting your business.
I unfortunately, and again, in Justin's, can see with the I think some people are very good about being very generous and very respectful and very supporting of those things. And I don't think there's others that are not that they're ungenerous, and I don't think it's a it's a conscious thing to whether it's support a live stream, the tip bucket, virtual tip buckets, and or whatever, right? Whereas, all right, you put it out there for free. All right, I may or may not. I'll watch it. Okay, I've got another viewer, but I didn't put something in the tip bucket.
Yeah.
Or other live streams that do cost to pay for. Like, I don't want to spend the money in that.
Right.
I think that's a big part of the live streaming versus the live.
Yeah.
Because when I go to see a live, I'm spending money, whether it's the bar or merch or et cetera, because I'm there. And again, back to what you're saying, it's the experience of the evening.
It's a much bigger experience than just listening to a song.
Right. So I get it. It's a hard to try to help bridge it or how to keep moving along, but also making sure the conscious effort. It's almost like
everybody's just doing the best they can with what I mean. This is all uncharted territory for all of us.
Yep.
And the band All Heart, we put out a couple of COVID videos where we all recorded our parts at home, and then we sent them to Jim, who was our octopus that played everything, and he put it all together and made a great little video, made some great videos out of those. Right. And so yeah, we still wanted to be active. We wanted to do something, but we couldn't be out there, and so we did the best we could with what we had to work with. And
you got to still keep, as an artist, you still got to keep everyone's still trying to keep their output, their creativity going.
Yes.
And I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, that last year, I hate to admit it, but I didn't kind of have that drive and the motivation and other things going on in my life or projects to put me behind the kit.
Yeah.
But then again, I shifted my creativity over to the podcast, where I spent a lot more of my time. You know, as my wife probably knows.
Yeah.
So forth. But yeah, no, definitely good conversation. So.
Well, you know, and you're talking about trying to find the time to get behind the kit. That's another conversation altogether. You know, trying to find when do you practice? You know, because I mean, we're all busy. I have kids that are involved in things, and you know, constantly coming and going, doing things, helping keep the house running. You know, and I find myself, you know, I don't get to sit down and practice. I'm mostly with my band. You know, I when I go to rehearsal and when we play shows, that's when I get to practice.
Right.
I don't get to sit down and just woodshed this idea or this lick that I saw, you know, Todd Sucherman pull off that's just ridiculous and impossible that I want to try. You know, I don't get to do that very often anymore.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I find I miss that.
Right.
And I'd like to try to find some time to do that. You know, but anyway, that's kind of a little tangent, but a related tangent.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So, all right. So, there
Renee.
he is.
Hey, look at that dude.
There he goes. Now we can start sharing stories about Renee now. So, yeah. So
Renee is a great friend. I mean, I've known Renee for so many years, and we've. You know, I had an experience a few years ago that was really dark for my family. It was a really hard time, and Renee did a lot to help my family through that.
That's
and
awesome.
You know, he's a great brother. You know, I can talk to him. I can pray with him. I can curse with him. You know, whatever. He's you know, he's just a solid dude. Great friend.
Yep.
So love him like a brother.
So hopefully rehearsal went well. I know he's going to be stopping by here at Live Music Community for their live stream tomorrow. So that was interesting, Renee. When Kevin and I had our little pre-show conversation, when he brought your name, I was like, oh, okay, it's all this. Yeah, everyone is all
the connection there.
Yeah.
We were the ecumenical, you know, church connection there. You know, I told you the story about how when he had his aneurysm that year, a couple of months later, I had a stroke. And then I was playing bass, he was the drummer, and here we are, the brain damage rhythm section, and we're supposed to be counting and keeping time for everybody, but you know, we were able to make it work. So by the goodness and grace of God, both of us are unhindered, and we're both just fine, you know. So I mean, excellent. But yeah, I mean, I totally believe that was God's hand, you know.
There you go. Cheers to that. And cheers.
Yes, I have a. Yeah, there we go.
A little.
Yes.
All right. So excellent. So great seeing you. Thanks for stopping in, Renee, and I know and a lot of other folks here on the live stream today. So, all right. So, we ready for 4 beats or less?
We can give it a shot.
All right.
I don't know.
All right.
I got to get my ninja skills ready for these evasions. You know.
So actually, this is something I think Renee actually he dodged this one because it wasn't a segment in the podcast.
Renee, the warranty on his dome has expired.
You get what you get. That's funny.
Yeah.
So Renee dodged this one because it wasn't part of the podcast segments very early on. Episode 2.
Okay. Get focused here.
Renee's was part of an episode 2. A 2-parter because we talked too damn long and actually finished the bottle of rum.
Renee just had way too much to say, right? Story time with Uncle Nene. So.
All right, so here we go. So, first question: will Angels of War do anything with a Bernie meme? No, I'm just kidding.
Probably already has, and I just don't know about it.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. No, that was a false start. Okay. 4 beats or less. Megadeth or Metallica?
Megadeth.
Okay, all right.
That was a hard one. That was a tough one because it's so close.
That's right. You know. And especially when you hear the early Metallica.
And my friend Jackie, if she's watching, she is going to skin me alive for that because she's a major Metallica fan. So.
Saints or Dolphins?
Saints.
Okay. So I know they just missed it out there against the GOAT, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That's right.
All right. So you kind of touched a little bit upon this one. What would be worse? Broken drum head or broken pedal?
Broken pedal.
Okay. All right. Last but not least, Rush album, Presto or Moving Pictures?
Moving Pictures.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So, not too bad.
Without a doubt.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, Presto was great, believe me. But it was one of those other ones that I had to kind of warm up to.
Right.
Moving Pictures out the gate. That was just a masterpiece, you know.
The so these little 4 beats are, these little rapid fire type questions and so forth, kind of gets a little bit of feel for I don't know, does it feel like something that should be start at the up early in the podcast to kind of kick it off?
I'm fine with it where it was. It's
okay.
It's fine. Kind of a good way to start to bring things down, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So as you mentioned, right, as we kind of start, bringing it down. One thing you mentioned a little bit about, so you're also passionate about martial arts.
Yes, I am. I've been training in martial arts since I was about 16, 17 years old. I'm 55 now, so you can do the math yourself. I'm not gonna go there, but yeah. So that's the other thing. I'm 55, playing in a metal band, so I'm the old guy in the band. I'm grandpa, and but I'm still up there doing it. I mean, hey, I guess if Nico and guys like that can play in their 60s and 70s, then I don't have any excuses. Anyway, yes, martial arts. I've been training for a long time. I have 3 black belts in three different styles. I have a 1st-degree black belt in Taekwondo, a 3rd-degree black belt in Okinawan Shorin Ryu, and a 5th-degree black belt in Okinawan Goju Ryu. And then I also have a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So yeah, it's just something that I started early on because I got bullied some in school. And when I finally had the opportunity to do it, I jumped on it, and I fell in love with it. And it's something I just never looked back on. It's just part of who I am, part of my life. I love training. My friend Howard that I was talking to you about earlier, Howard Friedland, he is also he and I have been training together. Oh boy, 2006, 2007. So a good 13, 14 years, maybe 15. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the dates on some of my rank certificates to see, because I don't even know anymore. It's been so long.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's just something I love to do. And I don't know if Renee told you, he's also a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to watch out. He's got some fast feet.
These ninja drummers.
Yes. Yeah. The most dangerous drummers in America.
So I got a question there. Is when you do Iron Maiden, do you opt for single kick or go double? So that's interesting.
I actually stay single.
Okay.
The only time I jump into a double kick on Iron Maiden is the end of a song, when I'm just train wrecking the song. I'll go into double kick, but I stay on the single kick. I want to, hey, if Nico does it, I want to play it the way he plays it, or as close to as I can, because his right foot is legendary, and I give it my best shot. So we try.
Excellent. So I think as we start, as we said, winding down, and so you mentioned there martial arts, Okinawan. So fan of Cobra Kai?
Love it.
Okay.
Love Cobra Kai. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some cheese there, but everybody likes cheese.
Yes, right.
Everybody likes some cheese. I mean, but I think they've done a really good job staying true to the characters and developing the characters past their prescribed parts in the movies, and I've really enjoyed it. I just finished season 3 last week, and I quite enjoyed it. I really did.
It was, I think, when it came out New Year's Day, or it was either that day or the day after. We just plowed the whole season in one shot, and then we're not big binge, typical binge watcher folks. And we're at the end of it. And my wife's like, I'm like, that's it. It's done. We'll have to wait for a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, you're already going through withdrawal, and it just ended. It's like that's the part was back in our day. We used to watch a show every week. There was no such thing as TiVo and DVR.
And if you missed it, you had to wait for the rerun later in the season once the new season was over.
Until the VCRs came out, where you can actually catch it the first times.
My kids don't get that. I talk about when I'd come home from school, my favorite thing was 1960s Batman. I watched Adam West and Burt Ward every day, and if I missed one episode, that was like death, because you couldn't just watch it.
Right.
It just what didn't happen.
Right.
They don't get that.
No. I did have a quick question about what type of sticks do you play?
I am using Vic Firth American Classic 5Bs, and I use nylon when I'm playing church and stuff like that. But for Angels of War, I use wood tips.
What's your thoughts about the Ahead, the metal, those types?
I've tried them, but they just don't. For some reason, I just don't get the right. They don't feel right to me. It's not. It's not that they're bad. For me, they just don't. They just don't feel right.
It's like a baseball bat, right?
Right.
There's a feel between a wood bat and an aluminum
bat.
Yeah.
To me, I like just that organic feel of a piece of wood. It just kind of. I don't know, maybe it's the way it absorbs the shock or transfers the energy back into the drum. I don't know what it is, but there's something there that's that I just don't get with the Ahead aluminums.
Is it 5A, 7A, or
5B?
5B. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like a little bit of heft and girth to the stick. 2Bs are a little bit too heavy.
Right.
Now, there was a time when I thought hitting hard and putting dents in things was cool, and I used to play the ProMark DC-10s, the drum corps with the round on both ends. They're basically, like you said, they're batons, baseball bats. And I dented a lot of drum heads until I realized you get a better sound out of a drum stroking a drum than beating it.
Right.
You pull the sound out of the drum, you don't pound it through through the drum. So maturity.
So there is a company. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I'm gonna try to give their stick a try. They're based out of the UK, and they're called Collision.
I don't know that I've heard of them.
So supposedly
sounds familiar, but
it's a very durable stick.
Okay.
So I don't know. So we'll have to. Like I said, I'm gonna get a pair, and one of the previous guests is an endorser or artist. So
I'm willing to give anybody a try. Yeah. I don't have any endorsements as of yet.
But you're always open to it.
You never know what'll come, what'll happen as Angels of War gets bigger, or We entered into this whole thing with no preconceived notions. We're just playing, and whatever happens, and we're just enjoying it.
Yep.
And but yeah, I'm willing to try.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So supposedly they've got a very durable stick. So all right.
Yeah.
So
I end up breaking at least one pair of sticks per show. At least one.
So before we wrap up here, I want to make sure I have you talk about this. This was you saw Rush when you were back in Louisiana.
Yeah. I've seen Rush many times, but this particular time it was my cousin's birthday, and I don't remember which album it was. I think it was Grace Under Pressure. And we had seen them at the UNO Lakefront Arena in New Orleans, and afterwards we went out in the French Quarter, like you do when you're in New Orleans, and we happened into this little club that was kind of off the beaten path that more locals went to and stuff like that. And when I walked in, I bumped into a guy and, "Excuse me, sorry, man." And my cousin said, "You just ran into Alex Lifeson." I said, "You're crazy, Sure enough, it was Alex Lifeson. He was there at the door talking to the doorman. And as we looked around, Geddy Lee, this was at the time they had some radio hits. They had a couple of things on the radio at that time. So Geddy Lee was on the dance floor, and he was surrounded by girls, and they were all dancing, So first thing I said was, where's Neil? You know, of course he wasn't anywhere to be found. You know, that was the night I learned that Neil just didn't do that type of thing.
Right.
And so we went over and we just told Alex, we said, hey, you guys rocked it tonight. We loved your show. Look, we're going to get a table over here. You know, when Geddy's done, if you want, come over. We'll buy you a drink and we'll just we'll chat a bit. And they did. They came over and they sat with us for a few minutes and we drank a beer with Rush, with Geddy and Alex. So it was, you know, it was that brush with greatness that I don't know that I totally understood what that meant at that time.
Right.
And I don't have a picture. I don't have an autograph. We didn't have, you know, cell phones with selfie cameras and all that stuff, but it happened. I have a memory, and it's a great memory, you know. But it's super, super down to earth and nice guys,
right.
You know, just regular dudes. And if anybody, you know, you always hear about these musicians who are arrogant and full of themselves. If anybody deserves to be, they do, and they're not.
Right.
You know, they're just really cool guys. You know,
it's crazy that when you're out and about and you know you're just thinking your ho hum little common life, and then you run into, and again, you know, I think there's just levels of, like you said, you're explaining, it's a little bit of starstrucker, but it's like, you know, like, wait a minute. Take a step back, you reflect on it, you're like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah.
Like, cool. You know, I got my, you know, running and like just recently there was a post on Facebook last night that a local musician who lives here that has a big American flag on his garage. I don't know if anybody knows the reference, but he was apparently at a local establishment here last night. So Kid Rock's in town, I guess. So
all right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I know there are several guys that live in this area that come out. You know, some of the guys that play in some of the bands in the clubs that we play are heavy hitters, man. Right. I mean, you know, you've got like the Nick Marino band. You know, Nick was Yngwie Malmsteen's vocalist and keyboard player.
Oh, wow.
And his drummer, Patrick Johansson, was Yngwie's drummer, you know, and these guys run in these circles and play the same places we do, you know. So there's some heavy hitters that are playing the smaller places right now.
Yeah, I've seen Patrick, and he's probably now that I think about it, right, it'd be real great to try to get on the podcast.
I've actually got a link to that. Okay. I don't know him personally, but my bass player takes drum lessons with him.
Okay.
So he knows him very well. Okay. So maybe we could
I think I've seen him at Pipers, I think. Pipers.
Yeah. And he's played with several bands. He plays with several bands in the area.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would gladly relinquish the drum kit for him to play with Angels of War for a couple of songs. It would be a great thing, you know.
So as we wrap up here, so first, I'd like to thank Justin Hucker for hosting the podcast here today.
Yes. Thank you, Justin.
Yes, and producing the live stream too. So it's definitely helps a lot when there's other folks here helping out, rather than when there's times when I'm by myself trying to be the audio guy, the host, the bartender, or whatever the case may be. So again, for those that you don't know, Justin, he is the owner of this location here, Live Music Community School and Studios. So make sure you check them out here on Facebook, Live Music Community. And so a lot of great stuff. As we talked about, he does host bands here locally for live streams. And then stay tuned to the podcast for future shows with him to learn more about him opening up this new location while in the middle of a pandemic, and never really given up on his vision and where he wanted to be with live music community. So definitely I'm looking forward to having Justin back on. If you do follow the podcast, you do know that he was on a previous one with Tyler Kulik last summer. So definitely we'll have one that's going to focus more on Justin, the school as a teacher, and the school here and so forth. So definitely give him a follow. This episode will be available on all of your favorite podcast locations next Thursday, January 28th. And please check out the Drums and Rums podcast to like and follow. Lots of other great episodes. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and we're even taking a shot at TikTok. So I know I'm jumped in there. Don't worry, I've got no videos of me shaking my booty. So I posted one last week where it was what fascinated was people doing things, not just the dancing part, was like making something. And I just set the camera up and I changed my drum head and let it record me just taking the drum head off and then putting it back on, and then I sped up the video. And it's like 850 views, right? So that goes to show you that there's something there to all that, right? People are watching these little videos. And also check out the website, drumsandrums.com. And Kevin, I thank you for coming on to the podcast. I had a great time talking about drums, your drum journey, learning more about Angels of War. I will come check out you guys as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so you mentioned a couple of your upcoming shows there. Yeah. So, do you have other things that you want to plug there? Pages and links and
just check our Facebook. Okay. That's our main presence online is through our Facebook page. And we always Joe. I say Joe always posts our events and all the shows should be up there.
Right.
Telling where, what time, and all that good stuff. So, and I just saw that friend Jerry Valentino is checking us out. So, hey Jerry, saying playing comes from the inside, and he's absolutely right.
Yep, excellent.
Cool.
All right. So, again, I want to thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Justin.
It's my pleasure.
So have a great day. This is where the backbeats meets the spirits. Thanks all.
Bye.